Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving deep into the world of small business and entrepreneurship. We're going to look at who actually builds these businesses, how they pull it off, and maybe most importantly, why it matters to every single one of us.
You know, this quote right here, it just nails it. Entrepreneurship isn't really about just making money. It's about seeing a problem and having the guts to try and fix it. That's the big idea we're going to unpack, so let's check out the roadmap.
All right, here's how we're going to break it down. First, we'll talk about the person, who even is an entrepreneur. Then, the path they choose. After that, we'll get into the playbook they use, face the peril of failure, and finally, really understand the payoff for all of us.
So let's jump right into section 1, the person. Before we get into their journey, we have to know what we're talking about. What does entrepreneurship actually mean?
It's so much more than just, opening up a shop. It's about spotting a need that no one else is meeting and then pulling together the resources, often when you have very few, to create a solution. Think about Airbnb, right? The founder saw millions of empty spare rooms and thought, wait a minute. They saw an unsolved problem in lodging and went for it. That is entrepreneurship.
And get this, not all entrepreneurs are cut from the same cloth. You've got your classic founder who starts from nothing. Then there are serial entrepreneurs, people like Elon Musk, who just keep launching new companies. Social entrepreneurs focus on making a difference, while lifestyle entrepreneurs build a business around something they love. And then there are intrapreneurs. These are the rebels inside big companies, like the team at Google that came up with Gmail.
Okay, so what does it take? Well, studies show that successful founders tend to share a few key traits. They're okay with risk, they can adapt on the fly, and they have a clear vision. But you know what might be the most important one? Resilience. Seriously, think about it. People from Walt Disney to Steve Jobs got knocked down hard by failure before they ever found success. But here's the thing. It goes deeper than just a list of traits. What really sets an entrepreneur apart is their mindset. Here's a great way to think about it. The mindset is the computer's operating system, and all those traits we just talked about, they're the apps that run on top of it.
So what does this mindset actually look like? Well, it's about seeing failure not as the end, but as data, a chance to learn something. It's training your brain to see opportunities where other people just see problems. It means you'd rather test a rough idea today than wait for a perfect plan tomorrow. And maybe most of all, it's a total obsession with your customer's problem, not with your own brilliant idea.
Okay, so we've got the person. Now let's talk about what they actually build. This gets us to section 2, the path. Because not every new business is the same. There's a really important difference between a small business and a startup.
And you can see that difference right here. A small business, like your favorite local coffee shop, is built for a steady, reliable income. But a startup, like Uber, is designed from day one to grow like crazy, exponentially. And that one difference changes everything. How they get money, what their goals are, and how the founder eventually exits, whether that's by getting bought or by having an IPO, which is when a company first sells its stock to the public.
And just to put this all in perspective, the huge majority of new businesses are, small businesses. There are 33.2 million of them in the U.S. alone. That's a mind-blowing 99.9% of all companies in the country.
Okay, so you have the mindset. You've picked the path. What now? Well, this brings us to section 3, the playbook. What are the actual tools a founder needs to get the job done?
Most successful businesses follow a process that looks something like this. Yeah, it starts with an idea, but then, and this is so important, it moves to feasibility analysis. This is where you find out if your idea could actually work in the real world before you bet the farm on it. Only then do you write a plan, launch, and start thinking about growth.
And that business plan, it might be the most important thing you create. It's not just paperwork. It's your roadmap. It forces you to prove that people will actually buy your product, to figure out how you'll run things, and to get real about the money. It is the ultimate reality check. Of course, no business runs without fuel, and that fuel is money. Where you get it really depends on your goals. Bootstrapping with your own savings means you keep all the control. But if you're on that startup path and you need to grow fast, you're probably going to need to talk to angel investors or venture capital firms that specialize in high-growth companies. Which brings us to a pretty harsh reality. Let's talk about section 4, the peril. Because every single entrepreneurial journey is packed with risk, and honestly, the stats are pretty sobering.
Yeah. Let that number sink in for a second. About half of all new businesses are gone within 5 years. And it doesn't get much easier. By the 10-year mark, almost 2/3 have shut down for good.
So what goes wrong? Well, the number one killer, involved in over 80% of failures, is running out of cash. A company can look profitable on paper, but if it doesn't have actual money in the bank to pay the bills, it's game over. The second biggest reason is almost more tragic, building something that nobody actually wants. But here's the key takeaway. Most of these failures are preventable with good planning.
So, if the risk is so high, why do we care so much? Why does it matter? Well, that brings us to our last section, the payoff. Because despite all that risk, the impact of entrepreneurship is just massive.
Small businesses are, and I'm not exaggerating, the absolute engine of the U.S. economy. They're responsible for almost half of our entire economic output. They create about 2/3 of all new jobs. And they are innovation machines, producing 16 times more patents per employee than big corporations.
To really see how someone can navigate all that risk to achieve that kind of payoff, let's look at a perfect real-world example. The story of Sara Blakely, the founder of Spanx.
Her story is like a textbook case of everything we've just discussed. She found a real problem because she had it herself. She bootstrapped the whole thing with just $5,000 of her own savings. She showed that insane resilience, calling people for 2 years straight until someone finally said yes. She was ready when her big break with Oprah came, and she built a billion-dollar company without ever taking a dime from outside investors. Just incredible.
So, when you boil it all down, what should you remember? First, small business isn't just a part of the economy. It is the economy. Second, being an entrepreneur is a way of thinking. It's a mindset. Third, most businesses don't fail because of bad luck. They fail for preventable reasons. And finally, just like Sara Blakely showed us, resilience, that's your ultimate secret weapon.
And so we'll leave you with this final thought. Knowing the incredible odds against you, knowing that most ventures fail, why do millions of people still take that leap of faith every single year? What is it about that payoff, whether it's money, freedom, or changing the world, that keeps that entrepreneurial fire burning?